Jai Gurudev, and thank you for joining us today. Today we are going to discuss about parenting and the upbringing of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji and his sister Bhanumati Narasimhan Ji and their family, and how the parenting of R.S. Venkat Ratnam, Acharya Ratnananda Ji and Amma Vishalakshi Ji can help us apply the principles of parenting in our day-to-day life, and how Know Your Child program embodies the same principles. So let's begin our discussion. So, what made the parenting style of Acharya Ratnananji and Vishalakshi Amma so unique? Jagadev, when people speak about Acharya Ratnananji and Mata Vishalakshi Amma, there is a special reference and reverence. What made their parenting style so extraordinary? Yes, their parenting was rooted in sadhana, seva, and samskar. Acharji was not just a father, he was a living embodiment of discipline, compassion, and devotion. He never instructed, he demonstrated. Children learn not from words but from the vibration of the home. In their home, silence was a teacher, discipline was natural, and love was unconditional. Gurudev often says children absorb everything. When he absorbed, and what he absorbed was purity. Now they were living examples of Grahastha Dharma at its highest. Vishalakshi Amma's sweetness, softness, and strength created an atmosphere of natural devotion. She didn't teach spirituality, she lived it. The home was filled with chanting, guests, prayers, meditation, and seva. This environment laid the foundation for a being like Gurudev and for Bhanumati ji to flower into a Guru Puja Pandit and a mastered Sahat Samadhi teacher trainer. Their standard is not merely high, it is a benchmark for spiritual parenting in Kali Yuga. Now, and this is exactly what the KYC course teaches modern parents, how to bring values, awareness, and emotional clarity into the home. Even if one cannot recreate the exact environment of Acharya and Amma, the essence of mindful parenting, joyful communication, and spiritual grounding can absolutely be cultivated. Now, can today's parents realistically teach at that level? Isn't it impossible? Like the many say, Acharya ji and Amma were exceptional and we can't be like them. Is it realistic for modern parents to reach that standard? Like their excellence was not in doing something extraordinary, but in doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. They lived with clarity. Anyone can learn that parenting becomes difficult only when the parents themselves are stressed, confused, and overwhelmed. Acharya and Amma had inner stability. They lived the scriptures not as philosophy but as daily conduct. The KYC program gives parents practical tools to develop that same clarity. For example, how to understand your child's mind, how to deal with stubbornness, how to balance freedom and discipline, how to handle screen addiction, and how to communicate without anger, how to create emotional safety. Acharya didn't control Gurudev, he allowed freedom within a spiritual framework, and that is what modern parents can learn too. And let us be honest, Gurudev himself has said the divine chooses the parents, but every parent can create a sacred soil. Whether your child becomes a saint, a scientist, an artist, or a leader, that is secondary. The real goal is to raise a stable, compassionate, confident human being. Yes, replicating their exact parenting may be impossible, but reaching excellence in parenting is absolutely possible, and KYC gives the modern roadmap. Now, how did Acharya Ratnananji balance discipline and freedom while raising Gurudev? Gurudev, discipline often clashes with freedom in modern parenting. How did Acharya Ratnananji find that balance? Acharya lived a very special blend of strictness and softness. He was disciplined about truth, punctuality, self respect, humility, and equally open when it came to independent thinking and exploration. He never forced Gurudev or Bhanumati ji to follow a particular career or lifestyle. Yet there was a silent atmosphere of order in the home. Discipline came not from fear, but from respect. When a child sees a parent living authentically, discipline becomes natural. KYC teaches parents that freedom without a value system becomes chaos, and discipline without freedom becomes rebellion. The art is to inspire discipline by example. In Sanskrit, there is a term, Maryada Bodha, awareness of boundaries. Acharya created boundaries that were loving, not restrictive. For example, he gave responsibilities early, encouraged seva, expected sincerity, and also encouraged exploration of music, scriptures, creativity, and meditation. Children flourish when parents give rooted wings, roots from tradition, wings from freedom. This is the very essence of Vedic parenting. Now, modern parents can follow this by setting three kinds of boundaries taught in KYC. Emotional boundaries: don't shout, don't shame. The behavior boundaries: be consistent with rules, and screen and social boundaries: replace device time with engagement. Acharya practiced exactly this. clarity, consistency, and compassion. That is why the children grew up both disciplined and deeply free. Now, what was the role of spirituality in shaping the emotional intelligence of Gurudev and Bhanumati ji? Today we talk about emotional intelligence. How did spirituality play a role in their upbringing? The spirituality was not an activity in their home, it was the atmosphere, chanting, the homas, the satsangs, visitors, scripture, silence. It was all part of daily life. Amma was the embodiment of calmness. From her, the children absorbed softness and sensitivity. Acharya brought sharp intellect, courage, and clarity. Together, they formed a complete environment as Santarasa and Veerarasa. Emotional intelligence grows naturally in such a home because the child sees adults handling emotions with stability. Modern parents struggle because they themselves are not emotionally stable. Children become and copy anxiety, not words. Spirituality helps parents calm the nervous system, reduce reactivity, and communicate lovingly. KYC teaches parents practical tools for self regulation, breath work, meditation, and awareness of one's emotional patterns. Gurudev often says when the parents meditate, the child grows in a golden aura. This is scientifically true. Parental calmness creates a secure emotional attachment. In Vedic culture, the mind of the mother influences the mind of the child long before birth. Acharya and Amma maintained sattva, and therefore their children naturally grew with compassion, stability, and enormous emotional intelligence. Now, what is the essence of the Know Your Child KYC program? For someone who has never attended KYC, what is the essence? KYC is not a parenting lecture, it is a transformation for parents. The program helps parents understand how a child thinks, feels, learns, resists, behaves, and expresses stress. Parents learn how to identify a child's temperament, how to decode emotional signals, how to handle behavior without shouting, how to replace punishment with communication, how to build trust, and how to strengthen confidence, how to resolve fears and insecurities, how to support learning without pressure. Parents come out saying, I wish I had known this earlier. In Vedic tradition, raising a child is a sacred duty, the Putra Dharma. The KYC course revives that knowledge in a modern format. Many parents unconsciously carry their own childhood wounds and project them on their children. KYC helps break the cycle. It teaches parental consciousness, responding instead of reacting. This aligns perfectly with the Vedic principle. Treat your child with patience and purity until the age of 5, discipline until 15, and friendship thereafter. And above all, KYC helps parents create the same kind of nurturing, spiritually rooted, emotionally safe environment Acharya and Amma created, adjusted for modern times. Now, how did silence play a role in Gurudev's childhood environment? We hear often that silence was a big part of Gurudev's early years. How did silence shape him? Negative silence is nourishment for a child's brain. Acharya practiced meditation deeply. Amma maintained a natural quietude. Children raised in such an atmosphere develop sensitivity, intuition, creativity, and inner stability. Gurudev's ability to perceive subtle emotions, read minds, and offer clarity and radiate peace comes from the early exposure to silence. In Vedic psychology, silence is considered a teacher. Noise blocks intuition. Silence awakens it. In many homes today, television, arguments, and constant stimulation create the inner restlessness. KYC teaches parents how to bring silence back into the household, not by force, but by creating high quality bonding time, mindful evenings, and reducing unnecessary noise. Children who experience silence become emotionally intelligent and spiritually perceptive. Now, even 10 minutes of collective silence daily can transform family energy. This is one of the practices inspired directly by how Acharya and Amma lived. Now, how can parents cultivate humility in children like Acharya did? The humility seems to come naturally to children raised in spiritual homes. How can parents cultivate this? Humility is not taught, it is absorbed. Acharya was humble despite his knowledge, position, and strength. Children who see humility in parents naturally adopt it. In Vedic culture, humility or Vinaya comes from service. Acharya engaged the children in seva, not as a chore but as a joy, helping guests, cleaning, offering food, participating in rituals. KYC helps parents shift from the modern mindset of protecting children from responsibility. Today's children rarely get opportunities to serve, they grow with entitlement. A little seva, watering plants, helping elders, distributing food has a profound psychological benefits. It builds kindness, empathy, and groundedness. Parents learn how to encourage seva naturally, not as punishment. Humility also grows when parents stop boasting about their children in front of them. Acharya never did that. He allowed the child to blossom without comparison or pressure. Now, what mistakes do modern parents make unknowingly, and what are the biggest unconscious mistakes parents make today? Maybe it could be like comparing children, unknowingly shaming them, giving too much screen time, overprotecting and being inconsistent, using anger as a communication tool, giving mixed signals, expecting perfection, and pressuring academic performance, not allowing emotional expression. KYC brings these patterns to awareness and gives practical alternatives. Another mistake is not understanding the child's prakriti, whether they are vata, pitta, or kapha dominated, introverted or extroverted, emotional or intellectual. Vedic parenting never generalized children. Each child was understood individually. This is how Acharya and Amma nurtured Gurudev. They recognized his unique nature. Now, how important is the mother's emotional state? Whenever we hear the phrase mother is the first guru, how critical is her emotional state? Extremely critical. Vedic texts say yatha mata tatha praja. As is the mother, so is the child. Amma's calmness was the foundation of the home. A mother's emotional state is absorbed directly by the child biologically, psychologically, spiritually. Mothers who meditate create sattvic children. KYC teaches mothers breath work to calm the nervous system, reduce anger, and create emotional availability. The mother doesn't need to be perfect, she just needs to be present. Amma was present with softness, attention, and unconditional love. This is what shaped Gurudev's compassion. Now, what about the father's role? How did Acharya embody it? Like in many homes, fathers become secondary. How did Acharya shape the role of the father? The Acharya was the anchor, firm, wise, and compassionate. He brought structure, discipline, courage, and clarity. Fathers today often withdraw due to work pressure, but Vedic tradition holds the father as the guide in dharma and viveka or discrimination. KYC empowers fathers by giving them actionable methods to bond, communicate, and support the child emotionally. Many fathers say, I don't know how to handle my child, yet Acharya handled everything with calmness and presence. His clarity came from his own discipline. KYC helps fathers rediscover that strength. Now, why is parenting considered a sacred responsibility in Vedic culture? And we often hear that parenting is a sacred responsibility. How is this understood in Vedic tradition and how was it lived by Acharya Ratnananji and Amma Vishalakshi ji? In Vedic culture, parenting is siksha dana, the highest form of giving. Parents are not just caretakers, they are sculptors of consciousness. The child is considered a repository of divine potential. Acharya Ratnanandi and Amma Vishalakshi embodied this vision. Their home was not merely a house, it was Gurukul. They didn't raise Gurudev and Bhanumati ji to become great, they lived a greatness themselves. As scriptures say, Yatha Raja Tatha Praja, Yatha Pita Tatha Suta. As the parents, so the child. Modern parents often underestimate the impact of their emotional and spiritual state. Acharya and Amma maintained a profoundly sattvic lifestyle, silence, discipline, compassion, seva, devotion. Gurudev absorbed these qualities naturally. The art of living says Know Your Child KYC and Know Your Teen KYT programs and workshops revive this Vedic wisdom in a modern scientific language. Parenting today is more complicated nuclear families, screens, anxiety, academic pressure. KYC offers tools to handle these challenges with calmness. Now, earlier generations had guided guidance from elders. Today, parents feel lost, overwhelmed. KYC picks up that role, helping parents understand child behavior, emotional cues, personality types, and communication patterns. Parenting becomes conscious. Acharya and Amma raise their children with the clarity of Dharma and warmth of love. KYC shows how to create and recreate this same environment today. How did Acharya Ratnananji and Amma create a parenting standard that seems impossible to replicate today? Yeah, many feel that Acharya and Amma set a benchmark so high that it seems almost unattainable. How did they do it? They didn't do parenting, they lived values. Their power came from authenticity. Acharya lived discipline, waking early, meditating, serving society, doing satsangs. Amma embodied unconditional love and equanimity. Children learn not from lectures but from the energy at home. The presence of such spiritually evolved parents naturally creates brilliance in children. Gurudev's compassion, intelligence, calmness, and intuitive ability were nurtured in this serenity. Their parenting was a perfect balance. Acharya sharp intellect, discipline, dharma. Amma warmth, silence, intuitive sensitivity. This combination is rare, but KYC KYT helps modern parents cultivate these qualities through breath work, communication tools, and conscious parenting techniques. You cannot copy Acharya and Amma, but you can learn their principles. Now, KYC teaches the four pillars they naturally followed: child behavior understanding, how children think and react; effective communication, evoking positive responses; personality development, raising sensitive, socially responsible kids; value based parenting, human values infused naturally. Their standard is not impossible, it just requires awareness, inner calm, and consistency. KYC gives that path. Now, what exactly does the online Know Your Child KYC workshop teach? Jagdeep, for parents unfamiliar with the program, what does the online KYC workshop actually offer? The KYC is a scientifically designed 2 hour workshop that helps you see through your child's mind. Parents learn why children behave differently in similar situations, how their brain processes emotions, why they react, resist, or withdraw, how to handle tantrums without anger, and how to evoke cooperation without fear, how to communicate in a way the child actually hears, how to build emotional security, and what values must be introduced at what age, and how to cultivate creativity. Modern parents know the problem but not the method. KYC gives methods. In Vedic terms, it teaches the Manas Vigyana, the science of the child's mind. It fills the gap left by the absence of elders and nuclear homes. Many parents say they feel lost: screens, online addiction, attention disorders. The workshop addresses all these concerns. And importantly, KYC helps parents become their child's best friend, not judge, not enemy. One parent, Vasuda, said, earlier, I knew the problem but not how to handle it. Now I know exactly what to do. KYC brings that clarity. Now, how is child behavior explained in KYC? One of the main components of KYC is understanding child behavior. How is this explained? Like if children don't misbehave, they express unmet needs. KYC explains behavior through 4 dimensions: the temperament or the prakriti. Are they introvert, extrovert, sensitive, or strong? Emotional needs: affection, attention, autonomy. The brain development stages: what they can and cannot logically process. Environmental factors: the screen time, school pressure, peer influence. Parents realize the child is not stubborn, the child is overwhelmed, not disobedient, just unheard, not lazy, emotionally fatigued. This shift in perception transforms the relationship. In Vedic Dharma, behavior is seen as an expression of the inner gunas, the sattva, the rajas, and the tamas. KYC helps parents increase sattva in the child through structure, storytelling, silence, seva, and value based discipline. This is exactly how Acharya and Amma raised their children. Now, how does the KYC teach parents to communicate effectively? Now, the communication is everything in parenting. What does KYC teach in this area? Most parents communicate from stress, not from clarity. KYC teaches parents how to shift from reactions to responses. Parents learn practical tools such as speaking without triggering defensiveness, using positive instructions, replacing don't do this with try doing this instead, listening fully, acknowledging emotions before correcting behavior, using the right tone, and communicating love even in discipline. This is based on neuroscience and behavioral research. This mirrors a Vedic parenting. The tone of the parents carries the prana. Acharya never shouted, even corrections were done with compassion. When communication becomes conscious, children open up, trust increases, and values sink in naturally. One KYC parent, Rashmi, shared, earlier I knew the problem, but not how to handle it. Now conversations are smoother, respectful, and loving. That is the power of KYC communication. Now, what made Acharya Ratnananji and Amma Vishalakshi such extraordinary parents, and how does the KYC workshop help modern parents reach even a fraction of that standard? Acharya Ratnananji and Mata Vishalakshi Amma created a home environment where affection, discipline, intuition, silence, and deep spiritual culture naturally blossomed. Their parenting was not based on techniques, they embodied values. Children absorb what parents live, not what they say. What is remarkable is that they raised not one but two extraordinary beings. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji and Bhanumati Narasimhanji both radiate compassion, clarity, innocence, and leadership. Modern parents often think such extraordinary qualities arise by chance, but in truth, it was a result of consistent value based parenting, deep listening, emotional steadiness, and daily exposure to rich Vedic samskaras that shaped the consciousness of the children. The KYC workshop does not claim that the parents will produce another Gurudev, but it guides parents toward qualities that Acharya and Amma naturally radiated. KYC makes parents aware of child behavior patterns, showing why a child acts in certain ways under stress, fear, confusion, or excitement. It teaches communication that evokes cooperation instead of conflict. Amma never raised her voice unnecessarily, yet her message always reached the child's heart. Parents learn to respond from calmness rather than reaction, exactly as Acharya practiced. In today's nuclear families, parents lack the presence of wise elders used to guide families. KYC becomes that missing elder. It brings back ancient intuition based parenting into modern households. Testimonials from parents like Vasuda and Rashmi show how deeply transformative KYC is. Suddenly, they understood not only the problem but how to handle it. This ability to handle situations with maturity, love, clarity, and confidence is exactly what Acharya and Amma demonstrated, and exactly what the workshop rekindles. Now, parenting today faces challenges like nuclear families, screens, online addiction, and loss of cultural grounding. How do the KYC and KYT address these unprecedented issues? Neither the Vedic model of parenting was never meant to be a lonely journey. Traditionally, a home had grandparents, uncles, aunts, multiple layer of emotional buffers. The emotional storms of children were naturally absorbed by a large family. Today, a mother or father must fulfill every role: a guardian, a teacher, a friend, a counselor, and cultural guide. This creates enormous stress and often guilt. The KYC and the KYT begin by acknowledging this context, not judging the parent. They explain why children behave differently in the modern world, why attention spans have shrunk, why aggression and frustration have increased, and why emotional meltdowns are more frequent after excessive screen exposure. Parents realize that the child is not misbehaving, the child is overstimulated and underguided. KYC also restores value based parenting by reconnecting families with timeless human values such as authenticity, compassion, responsibility, and discipline, values embedded in every action of Acharya Ratnananji and Ammaji. Now, when parents understand a child's mind, they stop fighting the child and start guiding the child. One of the most common questions parents ask is, do we really need a workshop to raise our own child? The answer is simple. Earlier, elders offered guidance. Today, KYC provides that wisdom. For online addiction, the workshop offers practical steps, not punishment or force, to shift the child's focus from screens to creativity. Parents learn communication techniques that help children feel heard, reducing their dependency on virtual worlds. For attention deficit issues, the workshop helps parents create routines that stabilize the child's mind. For emotional burnout caused by the pandemic and online schooling, KYC offers reassurance and structured methods for rebuilding emotional rhythms. In essence, the KYC and the KYT give modern parents the tools ancient families had naturally. Now, many parents feel lost because children no longer listen. How does KYC rewrite this dynamic? Every parent across culture shares the universal complaint: my child does not listen. The art of living perspective is simple and profound. Children do not listen because their nervous systems are overloaded. When a child is filled with emotions, listening becomes psychologically and physiologically impossible. KYC helps parents see this not as defiance but as distress. Instead of using force, parents learn emotional pacing: when to speak, when to be silent, and when to hug, and when to wait. Acharya embodied this. His silence carried more teaching power than words. Amma's calm presence dissolved resistance. KYC helps parents recreate such an atmosphere. Now, parents discover that children mirror their internal state. If parents yell, children shut down. If parents speak during the child's emotional high tide, the child blocks it out. KYC teaches parents to enter the child's world instead of dragging the child into theirs. Once parents understand behavioral triggers, they can speak in ways that evoke cooperation. The workshop shares methods to reduce overreaction, increase empathy, and build emotional bridges. Parents like Shilpa and Akansha described it as an eye opener, saying KYC answered every unanswered question and even inspired spouses to join. Now, does KYC magically make children obedient? No. Transformation transforms communication. A child who feels understood naturally listens. A child who feels judged resists. Parents learn phrasing techniques, tone modulation, and timing, modern equivalents of the intuitive wisdom that Acharya and Amma lived every day. As communication softens, the parent child bond deepens, less conflict, more connection. The child begins to listen because the parent finally begins to hear. Now, parents often ask, can a 2 hour workshop really help? How does KYC create such deep transformation in such a short time? The power of KYC lies not in duration but in depth. The 2 hours are structured to deliver clarity, not information. Parents are overwhelmed today not because they lack intelligence but because they lack clear frameworks. KYC provides an immediate shift in perspective when parents suddenly understand why their child behaves in a particular way. 50% of the stress dissolves right there. They realize that not every behavior is a problem, many behaviors are simply signals of unmet needs, emotional fatigue, overstimulation, or confusion. This itself is liberating. Parents also learn two crucial elements: how to communicate so the child feels respected, and how to guide without dominating. Acharya and Amma mastered these naturally. They communicated with love but never compromised on values. The KYC session gives parents real life examples and stories to illustrate this balance. Even testimonials reveal instant impact. Rashmi said she always knew the problems, but the KYC taught her how to handle them, and that single shift changed her confidence as a mother. Shilpa found her questions not just answered but dissolved. The workshop is not theoretical, it is experiential. Now, parents also realize they are not alone. When they hear the concerns of others, their guilt melts. Everyone is struggling. The facilitator offers compassionate insights grounded in psychology, neuroscience, and Vedic wisdom. Parents leave with clarity, not chaos. In short, the workshop doesn't solve everything, but it gives parents the compass Acharya and Amma lived by. Respond with awareness, guide with values, and listen from the heart. Now, how does the ancient Vedic understanding of samskaras align with the KYC emphasis on early childhood development and personality shaping? The Vedic parenting always plays extraordinary importance on samskaras, impressions that enter the child's subconscious. Every sound, a touch, emotion, conflict, ritual, and blessing forms a child's inner world. Modern psychology echoes this truth. Early experiences shape personality, emotional resilience, and cognitive patterns. KYC beautifully bridges these worlds by helping parents understand how their moods, tone, habits, and reactions become impressions in the child's mind. Acharya Ratnananji and Amma were living embodiments of conscious samskara giving. Their home radiated devotion, cleanliness, respect, a quiet discipline, and spiritual rhythm, which naturally shape the consciousness of their children. Now, KYC teaches parents the same. Your child is absorbing your energy every moment. If you panic, the child becomes anxious. If you are calm, the child feels safe. If you live values instead of lecturing about them, the child imitates effortlessly. Festivals, stories, mantras, rituals, all these were integral to Amma's parenting. Parents today appreciate this, as seen in testimonials like the one from the mother whose daughter learned uh, mantras and stories she herself never knew.